the Texas fans should be really excited about this get. Evan Stewart committed to Texas A&M over a week and a half ago, and I think a lot of Longhorns fans were disappointed that he didn't rejoin them on their commitment list. But these are the type of guys that I think that you can get excited about because you're going to be playing a different style of football, and this is the type of kid that you need on that defense to start to – you're going to have to play Alabama's and LSU's and
light work.
OU every year. You got to have these type of guys stand up and shut down the run. He's the type of kid that can do it.
Well, and from watching his tape right here too, something that sticks out to me is the fact that he's pretty much Johnny on the spot, but he was smart in putting some of the plays in there where if he did miss the initial hit, his capability to turn quickly and get back to whoever it is that has the ball in their hand is pretty impressive. Yeah. And I think that's cool to showcase too. Like, hey, if I do miss something, I'm not missing him twice.
To me, he's not just a one-trick pony, right? He is a thumper. But he's proven throughout the course of his high school career he can cover. He can do some different things. I just think this is a pretty big get. I moved him up ever so slightly when we did the final, top 100 for DCTF. But I debated on moving them up even higher. That's I guess if Austin Westlake is the best defense in the state, could Lubbock Cooper be the second best? Maybe Duncanville's in the conversation.
Duncanville's definitely up there.
So, maybe the three best defenses in the state right there, and he's the leader on it.
He is Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete joining us for This Week in Recruiting. And let's go ahead and matriculate over to our underclassmen of the week. This one, heading down south just a hair, Willis, 2024 wide receiver, DJ Lagway. Now, this is a guy that has just an abundance of offers. And when you pick up one from Georgia to add to that list, clearly you're doing something right.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm really excited about the 2024 crop of quarterbacks in the Lone Star State. You got DJ Lagway, who just picked up an offer from Georgia. That was his 10th offer. He also has offers from schools like Baylor, LSU, TCU, Texas A&M, Texas Tech. So he's, that's a pretty wide variance of what schools he could fit into, because you think of LSU as being like that traditional quarterback type of spot. Georgia as well, right? Like they are picking up guys who can throw the football. Well, he's a tremendous dual threat as well, who can really run with the ball. He passes the eyeball test. But you also have Maber Matower at the Woodlands, and you have Dylan Raiola at Burleson. This is, I'm going to say it now, this is probably those three guys are almost certainly top 10 locks in the state of Texas. I don't think since 2012 there's been a recruiting class that's had three quarterbacks in the top 10.
Wow.
I think that the top-rated quarterback class was probably the Kyler Murray, Jarrett Stidham year. They were both in the top 5.
What a year that was.
But it's almost a lock that these three guys are going to be in the top 10, and they're national type of guys. They're probably going to be in the top 10 quarterbacks nationally. And one of them could, and it's too early to tell because they're all three great. Which one's going to be number one?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's going to be a tough decision.
Yeah, good luck.
To make down the line. We don't have to make that call right now, but it's knocking on the door, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're knocking on the door. All three of these guys had standout sophomore seasons, and I think Lagway is probably the most versatile of the bunch and has a very, very high ceiling. His father, Derek, played at Baylor, so we'll see if the Bears can get in there and
I was going to say, do you think that maybe says anything good for the Bears there? Maybe some family chemistry? I mean, we saw it with the Brockermeyers, didn't work out technically, but
I think it was his first offer as well. I'd have to double check my notes, but my mind is telling me that Baylor was.
That sounds like a Joey doing.
Yeah. Baylor was his first offer. He has the connections there. But again, this is going to be a national level guy. And what's interesting, I think, just kind of his picked up an offer from Georgia. There are a lot of folks that feel Burleson's Dylan Raiola is a Georgia lean because he has a lot of connections there early on in their recruitment. So are they trying to come into Texas to get two of the best ones? Yeah. I'm not saying that this Lagway's like going to be a Georgia commit or anything like that. He just picked up an offer from Georgia this week. It's going to be one of his many options to consider. But it was an interesting offer since they feel like they're in a good spot with Dylan.
Especially the week that they get announced as making it into the college football playoffs,
right.
Like that. That adds a little bit to it too. So there it is, our underclassmen of the week. Moving on finally to our recruit of the week, and man, I'm gonna go ahead and toot Power's horn here that he had been saying this one of, we figured it was going to happen. We didn't necessarily think it was going to happen this way, but in the wake of the Mario Cristobal news from that was the Oregon head coach, now is being hired at Miami to fill that position. Summer Creek offensive tackle, a DCTF 5-star in Kelvin Banks, has decommitted.
The first DCTF 5-star that we named in the class of 2022.
That goes back to our NLA camp that we saw him at
He's
years
been
ago.
He's been a wire-to-wire 5-star at DCTF, and I love his senior tape.
Mm-hmm.
He showed a lot of progression. I think he's a guy that can, like Kenyon Green at Texas A&M this year, he can play any of the spots up front that you need him to. He can play tackle, he can play guard, and if you want him to, he could probably play center as well. Super athletic. It's only going to get better as he gets stronger in a strength and conditioning program, but has a really, really high upside. But he's already refined, right? Like he's a guy who already kind of knows what he's doing out there, and I think he can come in and contribute early just because he's basically college ready. And you know where he plays at in the Houston area, they're battle tested guys, right? You see him playing against Katy, right here. You know he's going against elite players across from him all the time, and he's been starting there for a really long time, so he will be entering college like with experience, and I think that's pretty important if you want to get an early jump. Texas and Texas A&M were under heavy consideration when he made his commitment to the Ducks, and this is fresh news that he's backed off his commitment to Oregon. Any school in the country would really take Kelvin Banks, no matter what what they have on their commitment list. This is a guy that you would take, but I'll be interested to see where he ends up. There are a lot of top guys out there in the state of Texas still available. I mean, Cameron Dewberry announced his top 3 of Texas, Texas A&M, and OU. I've really felt strongly, I guess not strongly, I felt that Texas A&M could be the team to beat there, and that could be that could go a different direction because a lot of the recruiting pundits had Ohio State predicted for him, and they didn't even make his top 3.
Right.
So where will this one end up? It's an interesting question, but 2 of the state's top offensive linemen will be making quick decisions here as National Signing Day or the early signing period approaches next Wednesday, which also happens to be the opening day of the state championship game. So if you're
what perfect timing.
if you're listening to this, we will have a lot of content for not only recruiting fans but Texas high school football fans in general. Starting, it's coming. Like all this content is coming, and we're working on it now. So stay tuned.
I was going to say real fast before we let you go, do you have 1 or 2 guys that you think that people should really be keeping an eye on as that early signing day period comes next week?
Well, Harold Perkins, I think he's one of the top defensive players in the entire country. He's really talented defensive player. Denver Harris, he's our number 1 recruit in the state. Everybody's got their eyes on him. Will he stay in state at a school like Texas, or will he go to an Alabama? I think that's a huge question mark.
DCTF cover boy.
Yeah, the DCTF cover boy. I'm still waiting to get my hands on the magazine.
I know.
I thought it would be today, but I'm still waiting to get my hands on that just to flip through it. It's one of my favorite days of the year. Omari Abor. To me, that there's question marks there now. A lot of people had him in the Ohio State camp as well. He was really close to Quinn Ewers, and I think that was playing a role possibly in his recruitment. And now Quinn is leaving Ohio State, and does that have an effect at all on what he's going to do? There are really, this year out of any other year, at least in the last handful of years, there are a lot of major storylines in the state of Texas. Big-time players making decisions, and there are a lot of decommitments happening right now. Like the news is happening hour by hour. Right before we went on the air today, Nick Evers announced his decommitment from Florida. So he's back on the market, DCTF 4-star quarterback. Just a lot of moving pieces here, Coaches are moving. Jim Knowles took the Ohio State defensive coordinator's job, so Oklahoma State.
It's like all the coaching changes can't make this any easier for these kids to decide where they're going.
I think this year you will see a heavier amount of kids wait until after the early signing period.
Nice.
I think the traditional February signing day is going to be a little bit more exciting this year than it has been the last couple of years, and that's just because of all the changes. It may not make sense. Stephon Johnson at DeSoto, who's a DCTF Hot 100 receiver, is committed to Oregon, and now the coach left there. There hasn't been any news on him yet. Will he wait until after, the early signing period? Because, really, you don't know who your coach is going to be.
Exactly.
So there's some question marks there.
And that's a big thing on people's list.
There are just a lot of guys like that. So, it's just buckle up, be patient if you're a fan of a major school, but I think the in-state programs, by and large, Texas Tech, TCU, Texas A&M, Texas, they're all doing a really phenomenal job.
Yeah, no doubt
in
about
recruiting. You know, Baylor, you got to be sitting back if you're Dave Aranda and his bunch. Their class has been pretty much buttoned up.
Yeah.
They're probably like loving life right now because
absolutely.
they don't have a lot of guys waffling right now, and they've picked
There's no
out their
changes
guys.
going on. They're just winning.
Yep,
Yeah.
and they're winning. So, I mean, that's probably the staff that feels like, wow, heading into the early signing
Confident.
period, we kind of have an idea of
Right.
what's going on. But if you're a fan of one of those other 4 teams, it's going to be I don't want to say bumpy because that's not how I'm trying
Maybe
to
a little bit of a
It's
roller
going to
coaster.
be interesting. It's going to be
Yeah.
a roller coaster.
A guy who we hope never changes. He's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. You can follow him at G Powers Scout and follow Next Level Athlete at Next Level D1. Powers, we will not be seeing you for This Week in Recruiting next week, but we will be seeing you at State.
You will.
Fantastic.
We'll have some video content. We'll try to make our faces shown at state championship games.
Good stuff. We are Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon talking football in the Lone Star State. We hope you will become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football subscriber. But another thing that we hope that you will do, right now we are looking for you to go vote for the Whataburger Super Team. So we partner with Whataburger every single year to name 40 of the best Texas high school football athletes to this Whataburger Super Team. It is quite a prestigious award, and kids really, get a kick out of being put on it. So it's a great thing for you to sit there and go take a look and have your input on who you think deserves to be on that Whataburger Super Team. So you can go to texasfootball.com now, go over to our awards tab and find Whataburger Super Team and vote for who you think deserves to be a top 40 athlete on our Whataburger Super Team. Malpal, let's head over to the hotline and bring in the guy we missed ever so dearly yesterday. He is the Hall of Famer Craig Way, and I believe he's coming to us from the Big Apple. Craig, how's New York?
It was really good last night. I'm now kind of nestled in the, some would say it's the armpit of the metropolitan New York area, New Jersey. But I shouldn't say that because my mom grew up not far from here. So, no, I'm with the Texas basketball team, and they're practicing right now at Keene University in preparation for their game with Seton Hall tomorrow night up here when they'll play in Newark.
Exciting times. I'm assuming it's quite a bit colder up there than it is down here.
Yeah, I thought about stepping outside the arena to do this and chat with you guys, and no, it's just a little too cold and dank. So I moved inside. So and it was chilly on top of the Empire State Building last night too. I can tell you that. Even though they got the warmers overhead, it was still pretty chilly. 86 floors above the street.
Man, I do not doubt that. All right, Craig, let's kind of take a flashback here. So that regional semifinal round 2 weeks ago now was, as y'all would say, crazy town banana pants. It was just big school after big school, perennial powerhouse falling week in and week out. It seems like last week was a little bit more tame, and you've got kind of the Blue Bloods, the South Lakes, the Duncanvilles, all of them, the North Shores, they kind of took care of business. Is that after that regional semifinal round and all the chaos that ensued there, did you expect a little bit more of a calm week in the regional final round last week?
If only, Pickle, because we couldn't have forecast it being any crazier than it was that week. I think we thought order would largely be restored, and it largely was.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably as much as anything. But you look at those brackets, and it's blue bloods, like you said. It's household names. And in 6A Division I, all 4 are household names. In 6A Division II, only Tomball is kind of the outlier there. Otherwise, Geyer and Katy and Westlake are all well-familiar names. Mansfield Summit was a Final Four team in 5A D1 a year ago, so maybe only Flower Bluff. And, of course, Pato is a newcomer, but we've been talking him up all year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and South Oak Cliff clearly is the delight and the surprise of many to reach the Final Four for the first time in 51 years. So in the 4 divisions encompassing the 2 largest playoff brackets in the state, it's still chock full of brand names, so to speak.
Absolutely. And then that kind of is perfectly led me into my next question of we do have those rematches that we are used to seeing, at least in the past couple of years, in the state, heading into the state semifinal round. You've got Martin Falls City Volume 4 now, Timpson and Shiner we saw last year, Wascom Franklin, Liberty Hill Crosby. So you have those matchups that we have seen in recent years, but then you also have the oddballs now of Gunner not playing Canadian for the first time since 2015 with Lubbock Roosevelt making its way in. So I'm curious, in your opinion, which one do you kind of enjoy seeing more? Maybe the traditional rock fight that is, Martin Falls City that we've seen for 4 years in a row? Or is it, hey, look, there's someone else. Gunner's got a different team to go up against?
If I was a network television executive, I've always heard this about the NCAA tournament, that the folks in the CBS television family, they always want all the big shockers to come in on the first weekend. They want the Florida Gulf Coasts and the Loyolas and all of those.
The North Texas.
Yeah, there you go. They want them to win on the first weekend, but then they want kind of order to be restored in the Blue Bloods once they get to the Sweet 16 on from there. But I don't work for a network, a television network that televises the NCAA basketball tournament. So I'm fine with however it works out. I do enjoy seeing different parts of the state represented, no matter who it is. I like seeing a Flower Bluff get into the Final Four. I like seeing Lubbock Roosevelt and Lubbock Cooper get in from there. We know that the Panhandle is always going to be represented in some form. So even though Canadian didn't get there, Stratford got there in 2A D2, and then seeing Hawley out of the Big Country, seeing Marlin from the Super Centex, Lago Vista for goodness sakes, out of the Greater Austin area. We're seeing some fresh new faces in there, and that's exciting to see along with the ones you expect to see.
Right, and with those new faces that you just mentioned, whether it be Lago Vista, whether it be Marlin, whether it be, any of these teams that were kind of not necessarily came out of nowhere, but some of them really did, to be honest with you. If you had to pick one, we'll put it in air quotes, upset this week of maybe, a perennial powerhouse going up against one of these newer teams, out of all the matchups, which one do you think you would say would be most likely?
Wow. It's a great question. I don't know that you can necessarily call this an upset, really, because I think the computer even likes them. But we've never seen China Spring get into a state championship. Cuero, we know, is a given, proven commodity, but China Spring, of course, knocked off Carthage. So can they knock off another big name to get there? I think that's one of the things that folks are wondering about, if that could happen. So there is that. Maybe Lubbock Cooper and South Oak Cliff are a pair of teams who haven't had that opportunity to get to the state championship. So I don't know that either side is an upset if it works out that way. So I think all of those come to mind. LBJ's trying to break through for the first time in school history, and they've been number one for many weeks now. So I know the computer and a lot of folks expect the Jaguars to get there, but until you break through for the first time, you still haven't done it. So I think all of that comes to mind. Maybe Mount Vernon. We'll see if they can hang with Brock, and we expect probably a lot of the favorites to advance. But the old thing about that's why they play the games. There's a lot of teams here that are capable of knocking off favorite teams in this week's bracket.
And usually this is the last question. I will have one more question for you after this, but we'll go ahead and play your and Tepper's favorite game here of I'm going to give you 3 options. Now, knowing you, I'm going to give you a Thursday, Friday, and Saturday game, so for the sake of the game, we're going to choose one.
Okay.
6A D2. It's kind of the game that we all had circled after we figured out they were both going to D2. Katy and Westlake, that's Saturday at McLean Stadium. Then 5A D2, we're going to give you Lubbock Cooper and Sauk, 7:30 p.m. on Friday in Abilene. Or we're going to go down to the smallest 11-man classification. Our computer has this one a pick'em game with Stratford and Albany, Thursday at Lubbock's Lowry Field. Which one are you teleporting to?
Wow, it's a great choice. I expect better choices even on this list than Tepper does, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
Back into a corner and told I could only pick one, I think I would go for Lubbock Cooper and South Oak Cliff. I think this is going to be a really good game. Katy and Westlake, we know, are brand names. They're household names. Todd Dodge was saying this morning, you know what you're going to see and what you're going to get out of Katy every single time. That said, I do think that Westlake may have the upper hand because they have they're on a tremendous roll in this final round. So I don't know that I'm necessarily expecting the Westlake to win, but I certainly expect them to have a really good shot to win. Stratford and Albany, yeah, it is a rock fight. Whatever those teams of the traditional powers in the lower classifications get together. But forced to choose only one from a curiosity perspective to see who can finally break through and get to a state championship for the first time in school history. Out of those three matchups, this is the only one where the winner is going to be in a championship game for the first time ever. So that's why I'd probably go with Lubbock Cooper and Sock.
We are on the same thought process there. And finally, Craig, I've got to ask you, because you were there when something happened on Saturday night. You were on Scoreboard Live, and y'all went to commercial break. I was watching, and all of a sudden, Tepper came back. I went to go take a picture of the screen to tweet it out and say, man, the set looks a lot better with Tepper. And then you were the one that was able to break the news that little Max was making his way into town. Take us kind of behind the scenes there from your perspective, and what was that like for y'all on the set of Scoreboard Live?
Well, it was unique. There's no doubt about it. If we could invent something else to put on the show, that would have been it. It was we were just humming along. Things are going fine. If you watch the first half of the show, you can see Tepper's in his usual mode. As I said at one point when he was talking about something, and I said, and he made a point, and I said, it's not hyperbole. We know you can be given over to hyperbole, and we were all laughing. Things were just humming along. We got to the break right at the top of the hour, and we were getting ready to have Homer Matlock on from Westbrook, and Tepper looks down at his phone, and he just very calmly and almost matter-of-factly says, I think the baby might be coming. And we're like, really? And so then he called, I think, his mother-in-law, and he got done, and he said, okay, I think it's coming. And Rick Renner and I looked at each other and like, dude, you need to go. and he said to Patrick Madrovsky, our producer, can I go? And he was like, yeah, get out of here, go. and then the video that you posted there, him getting up and wrapping up his stuff and getting out, he just kind of zoomed out. And then I noticed from his tweet and from what in the text message that he sent us that Max arrived like 2.5 hours later.
Right.
So he didn't make it by a lot. He made it there, but it wasn't by an awful lot. He didn't leave an awful lot of margin for error on that field. It was unique. There's no question about it, but we were very excited for him and Jen and for little Max coming into the world. It was definitely a different way to go into the second hour of the program. And so we were coming out and, we were talking business in the break going, okay, Tep's highlights. When Rick is going the game before, I'll do Tepper's highlights, the ones that he's that are earmarked for him. And when I'm going, and then Tepper's highlights are supposed to come next on another segment, Rick would jump in there. So we just kind of divvied it up. And then Patrick said, oh, by the way, let everybody know he's gone. So I did. And that was pretty much it.
Yes, yeah. I was sitting there watching, and I just hear you go, well, Tepper's not here anymore. And I was like, oh, it's happening. Like, it's happening now. It's so too funny. Well, Greg, man, we appreciate you hopping on with us. Enjoy New York, and best of luck to the Texas basketball team this weekend.
Thanks, ladies. We look forward to being back there this weekend for a big weekend of football.
Absolutely. There he goes, the Hall of Famer Craig Way, joining us usually every Tuesday for Tuesdays. I had to ask Craig about that, because it's one thing for Tepper to tell the story, but just to know what Tepper's real reaction was, because we all know on this show Tepper can be especially when he's on Scoreboard. I mean, that guy is amped up on some caffeine, and so I was like, was there a oh my god, or was it like, hi, my kid's being born, I need to leave?
No, he didn't even say I need to. He said, can I leave? I'm like, really? I think my heart probably would have just dropped.
Oh, I'm sure there was
oh my god, I have to go right now.
Pit of your stomach thing. Well, I mean, and he said he asked his sweet mother-in-law, are you serious? Which would have been a great joke to play in the long run, but right then and there. But yeah, I'm not kidding. I legitimately took my phone out and I went to take a picture, and I was going to tweet out, man, the desk looks so much better. And then Craig said that. And so then I just text Tepper, and said some words, and I was like, good luck, man.
I love it. So fun.
So anyway, appreciate Craig Way joining us there. And yeah, I'm sure they're hoping for a little bit more normal of a scoreboard as this weekend happens. And I know Tepper will be back for that, but we appreciate Craig hopping on with us. And now we head over to Mallory Hartley for America's favorite segment, Final Thoughts. Malpal.
Well, I can tell you that there is going to be a Picks video this week. Miss Ashley Pickle has done a phenomenal job navigating her way through her first Picks video ever. So be on the lookout for that. It may look a little bit different than ones in the past, but in my opinion, I think we're spicing it up. We're throwing a little bit of spices in there to make it even more special than before. But yeah, so be on the lookout for that as well.
Yeah, we're adding a little
Spice.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pull back the curtain there, dude. Talk about, so most of y'all know on the Picks video and stuff, when it comes down to the state semifinal week, we go through all 20 matchups at once. Talk about a way to jump into your first Picks video. Like, I mean, usually Tepper really in depth breaks down one game, short little bits, and then it's lightning round.
He just picks a bunch of them. Yeah.
We got 20 of these
to
things.
go in depth.
And we're having to edit it because I talk too long. Y'all will never believe that, me talking too long. So anyway, that's why we're having to switch some stuff up, because Motor Mouth over here just kept going, I guess. And I was like, y'all want to hear me talk?
You just had too much to say.
I had too much to say. It was not good. So anyway, we're trimming it down so y'all don't have to listen to me talk for that long, considering you've listened to me talk for the rest of the week. So anyway, Picks video will be coming tomorrow, and we'll have a normal big time Thursday show tomorrow. Ish will be joining us again. Malpal and Ish are going to handle a whole bowl prediction college football segment. We'll go Butt Groove Guide. We'll do all the funnest stuff. So I think that'll do it for us today. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Twitter @DCTF. And of course, we have all of your stuff for playoffs covered on TexasFootball.com. Thanks to Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete and Craig Way, the Hall of Famer himself, joining us from the Big Apple. I am Ashley Pickle. That's Mallory. For Mallory Hartley, I'm Ashley Pickle. Vince Young, come get your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Texas Football Today.